Anne is thought to have been born around 1501, but no exact date is known for her birth. Her father, Thomas Boleyn, was already a very well-established man at court and on extremely good terms with the king. She and her siblings, George and Mary, grew up at Hever Castle. Fun fact: the castle was later given to Henry's fourth wife, Anne of Cleves, as part of the settlement of the annulment of her marriage to Henry. At the age of 12, Anne went to the Netherlands to be part of Margaret of Austria's household. After, she went to the French court to be lady-in-waiting to Henry's younger sister, Mary, who was briefly Queen of France. After Mary's husband died, Anne became lady to the new French Queen, Claude. Anne would have learnt many things being around so many powerful and important women. It's thought that it's here in France where she had her first experience with religious reformation and reading the Bible. In 1522, Anne left France and returned to England, where she would go on to become lady-in-waiting to the English queen of the time, Catherine of Aragon. Anne became well known as a stylish woman around the court. She was intelligent, witty, and often centre of attention. It's thought that Henry first noticed Anne around 1526, and this is due to a letter written in 1527 where Henry says he has been in love for a year. Anne seems to have had affection for another Henry, Henry Percy, the future Earl of Northumberland. It seems the two wanted to marry. It's possible that the king, already having affection for Anne, made his chancellor, Cardinal Wolsey, stop this engagement. Percy married a different woman in 1524, and Anne built up a strong resentment towards the cardinal. Anne refused to be the king's mistress. Her older sister Mary had been his mistress, and it had damaged her reputation. There is also speculation that Anne's mother Elizabeth may have had a physical relationship with Henry at some earlier point. We don't know for sure what Anne looked like, as many of the well-known portraits were painted well after her death. She was described as being not beautiful, but charming, fashionable, intelligent, and charismatic, and all this helped Henry fall deeply in love with her. Henry and Anne may have anticipated they would not have to wait very long to be married, but they were wrong. The separation between Henry and Catherine of Aragon dragged on for years. All this time, it's thought that Anne refused to sleep with Henry. Anne was often at the king's side, and her influence became stronger. This is clear in the part she played in the downfall of Cardinal Wolsey. Remember, Anne already had anger towards him for his part in preventing her marrying Henry Percy. As Anne's influence grew, a power struggle developed. It shows what Anne was capable of in being part of his downfall. Wolsey, as Chancellor, was extremely powerful, and he had worked tirelessly to get the king his annulment, which of course is what Anne also wanted. Despite all this, she hated him and wanted him gone. After years of failing to get his annulment, Henry took drastic action and made the decision to break with Rome and the Catholic faith, and he set up the Church of England with himself as head. He could now finally get his way and marry Anne. Catherine of Aragon would be banned from court. Male subjects would even have to sign an oath saying they recognised Anne as the new queen. Years after Henry fell in love with Anne, she was finally crowned Queen of England on the 1st of June 1533. She took part in an impressive procession through London, but the lack of crowds and positive reaction in the capital confirmed her lack of popularity. This got worse when she failed to deliver the wanted son and heir. Of course, one of the main reasons Henry wanted rid of his first wife was because she was unable to give him a son. To now have problems in this department with Anne too was literally worst case scenario. It's thought that Anne became pregnant 4 times, but like Catherine before her, she failed to deliver any living children except a single daughter from her first pregnancy, the Princess Elizabeth. Despite the immense effort Henry had gone through to marry Anne, he quickly started to go off her, and he became close to one of Anne's ladies, Jane Seymour. In 1536, Henry fell in a jousting accident. Anne, who was pregnant, miscarried the baby, and she said it was partly due to the distress and concern for Henry. After failing to deliver a son once again, Henry decided he must have been tricked into the marriage. This idea was likely supported by Anne's enemies, including the new Chancellor, Thomas Cromwell, who had argued with the Queen on religious matters. So why was Anne so unsuccessful as Queen? Well, there are many theories for her downfall. She certainly had many enemies, including Cromwell, also the Seymours, who were now seeing the rise in one of their own with Jane, and were possibly hoping she would replace Anne as Queen. Whether it was true or not, Anne was accused of many things, including conspiring the king's death, and this was treason. She was also accused of adultery with 5 men, including her brother. Under treason, one of these men, the musician Mark Smeaton, admitted to having relations with the Queen, but the other men all maintained their innocence. Another possible reason is Anne, it has been suggested, made negative statements about Henry, including that he was unsatisfying in bed. Henry portrayed an image of hypermasculinity, but the failure to deliver a son may have led him to feel paranoid about people's views on him. Saying anything bad about the king was very risky and unwise. Some of these negative statements were even read out in Anne's trial. Another interesting accusation about Anne was the suggestion that she may have 6 fingers on her right hand. Now, whether this was true or not, it was a very bad thing for people to believe. At the time, it was commonly thought that physical deformities represented evil acts committed by the individual. That could be why Richard III was often portrayed as a hunchback in plays, including, of course, the famous Shakespeare play. Richard did have a curvature of the spine, so there is some truth to this, but the over-the-top hunchback portrayal would have confirmed what people believed of Richard, that he was a villain. In Anne's trial, her own uncle, the Duke of Norfolk, as well as her former love, Henry Percy, sat on the jury. In the trial, Anne had no chance, and she was found guilty and decapitated 4 days later in the Tower of London. Before her death, Anne swore on confession she had never been unfaithful. It was said she died with courage and dignity. Anne is surely one of the most incredible people from the Tudor era. A king was so in love with her that he was prepared to change the religion of a whole country to marry her. She was also mother to future Queen Elizabeth I, one of the most amazing monarchs in history. Although Elizabeth was very young when her mother was killed, I feel she must have been inspired by her and used lessons to make her the great ruler she was. It makes me think, what kind of ruler could Anne have been if given the opportunity? Think, for example, if Henry had died in the jousting accident, then the young Elizabeth would have been queen, and Anne would have ruled through her as the true power. I think she could have done a pretty great job.